good afternoon and welcome to our May 23rd regular council meeting. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. The municipality operates on the unceded and unsurrendered lands of our Indigenous peoples. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We recognize all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on the land where we now all reside together. I will call this meeting to order. We are missing Councillor Chatton. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that's been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. I'd like to start the meeting off. I would like to ask Councillor Barb Enright Miller to read the Accessibility Week proclamation.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I would like to start my proclamation by introducing you to Ann Carr, who happens to be my cousin. We contacted the Canadian Hearing Society to arrange for a professional interpreter today, but no one was available. So I thank Ann very much for stepping in and allowing us to provide more accessibility to our community through this one type of interaction. Ann is not a professional interpreter, but spent her career as a counselor at the Sir James Whitney School for the Deaf, and ASL is her second language. ASL is American Sign Language and is the language of the deaf. We have a large community of people who are deaf who not only go to school here, but are also working members of our Belleville community. The deaf people are only a fraction of those with disabilities in our community. Disabilities can be both visible and invisible, and this is something that we can never forget. Our Accessibility Committee is so fortunate to have on our staff and at our helm Nicole Yancey, who is our AODA coordinator with the City of Belleville. I'm slowing down. Your Accessibility Committee, which includes Councillor Kelly, and members of the community who are also passionate about all things accessible, and who themselves all have first-hand knowledge to bring to the table on the barriers faced by so many in our community. It is our job to break down these barriers and make our community accessible and inclusive to everyone. This committee is trying to achieve this cultural shift. I would like to proclaim Wednesday, May 29th to Sunday, June 4th, National Accessibility Week in Belleville. According to the 2019 Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005 annual report, in Ontario, approximately 2.6 million people have a disability. This means roughly 1 in 4 Ontarians live with a disability and face various types of accessibility challenges in their everyday life. With the aging population expected to grow in the next 25 years, it is projected that the number of people living with a disability is also expected to grow in our province. This is why it is more important now than ever to remove all barriers that impede accessibility for all. The theme of Inclusive from the Start for National Accessibility Week is aligned with Belleville's focus on promoting the full cultural shift that is needed to occur in order for us to achieve the goal of complete accessibility and inclusion in our community. In order for the City of Belleville to reach its full potential, accessibility and inclusion must become a way of life and business. During this week, the Belleville Accessibility Advisory Committee is pleased to announce the creation of a new Accessibility Achievement Award. The purpose of this award is to recognize private businesses that have made this cultural shift in accessibility and inclusion in serving people with disabilities in our community. Nominations for this award will be taken from the public You will be able to find the nomination Accessibility Excellence Award nomination form on the City of Belleville website. We want the public and the City of Belleville to recognize those community members, individuals, groups, and organizations and businesses who have made or are making a significant contribution beyond the legislative requirements in improving access for persons with disability in Belleville. Nominations will be open May 30th, and the deadline for the first award submission will be November 24th. We are hopeful that recognition for those who have stepped up will encourage others to think about how they too can, and look through the lens of a person with a disability and do more. Thank you everyone who has worn red today in support of AOTA and Accessibility Week. And I would be remiss if I did not thank our committee members, Councillor Sean Kelly, Nicole Yancey, our AOTA coordinator who couldn't be with us tonight, Jeremy Davis, Karen Kitchen, Mike Benson, Jana Mutrick-Colton, Lorna Prevost, Janet Richards, and Richard Williams for their continued support and fabulous guidance. And of course, thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion for special council meeting minutes of May 4th, 2023, and May 10th, 2023, regular council meeting minutes of May 8th, 2023, special in-camera meeting minutes of May 4th, 2023, and May 10th, 2023, and in regular camera meetings of May 8th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Millet. All in favor? Carried. Deputations. Oh, pecuniary, I need also disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. I see a lot of hands going up. Councillor Alsop?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I have a pecuniary interest on item 8B4. It's the grant committee recommendations, number 6.5, Enrichment Center, because I am the treasurer of that organization.
Thank you. Councillor Carr?
Yes, thank you. 8A4, the nurse practitioner-led clinic expansion funding. I have a family member who's been accepted into a nurse practitioner program and has interest in returning to the local area to provide primary health care.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Millet?
Yes, likewise with Councillor Alsop, I too am on the board for the Enrichment Center as it pertains to the grant committee item. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, Councillor Thompson?
8B4, the grant committee, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into deputations. I'd like to call retiring a person that we're going to miss, Bob Dafo. I believe he's in the audience here today, or he's not. He is. Okay, I've got my presentation up front here. You're going to get to speak, so you can knock me as hard as you want today. Sad to see you go, buddy. How many years? 40, 50, 39, 35, 39 altogether. We worked part-time for a little bit. So, on behalf of council and everybody in the city, you've done so much for us. And it just speaks volumes of how long you've been here to help. And you're one of the friendliest faces that I've ever ran into in the city. And hopefully you're going to keep giving back, and I know you will. And hopefully you'll have a good and joyous retirement. So I'd like to present to you this on behalf of council. We get council. They usually come on up here. We usually get retirees. We gotta get all the council up here. Come on. We'll get the center. I started this once, and everybody likes you, so they said, "Yeah, we got to get up here and center." So. No, we'll face out. Just fill in, and we'll take the picture. It's your idea. Okay. Well, I don't know.
I'm my idea.
General orders around.
Okay.
Jen is our great organizer.
The whole council gets to say goodbye to you, right?
Most people get it.
Do you want to take one step over, Councillor Rott? Oh, that's perfect.
There?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Once we put this out on social media, everybody will want to hire you. So.
Thank you.
Thank
Also,
you for
I
your service.
Thank you.
have a. That's my Visa card. Take it easy on it, okay?
So it's, I'm not paying it off.
More welcome to say a few words.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You're good? That's
It's been a pleasure, though. It's,
been events, met a lot of really nice people, worked with a lot of nice people, got to learn a lot of things. Got to work with best ice makers in the world, not just our guys, but the Craigs that make the ice for the NHL and everything. They came here for Hockeyville, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So, thanks.
Next, I'd like to welcome Jill Raycroft, CAO of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce. The podium's yours, Jill.
Thanks very much, and I'm inviting Tiffany to join me here. So thank you to members of council and media for receiving us today. We're excited to present a little bit of an update on where we stand with city events through Discover Belleville. You've entrusted us with a lot of things to do this year. We just want to let you know that we're plowing our way through. If you were down at the park on the weekend, the pop-ups have started and they opened with a few little glitches, but they are ready to go, and I think you've all been invited to a grand opening at 11:30 on Friday, May 26th, to see that, and then that launches us into what's happening this weekend. So I'm going to pass it over to Tiffany, who is truly the face of Discover Belleville in all our events.
Thank you so much, Jill. So Discover Belleville is getting ready for the busiest time of the year, kicking off with the Family Fun Fest Spring Edition this Saturday, May 27th from 10 until 3. Please come. We have a full park of buskers, interactive displays, workshops. We have a nature scavenger hunt, arts and crafts, face painting, balloons. We have special performances by Pegasus Cheer and the Quinty Symphony with their instrument petting zoo, which is always fun. In addition to the pop-up second weekend, we're bringing in Beaver Tales, Burger Revolution, Binge Box, Pink Funnel, Sugar Mamas, and Tyrific. So there's going to be fun and food for absolutely everybody. And then we have 3 weekends in July, so get ready. We have Canada Day kicks off the July festival season on Saturday, July 1st with the Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast. Shows include Wild Wild West, Great Canadian Lumberjacks, Classic Canadian Wrestling, which is new to us, Hot Diggity Dogs, the Dog Lure Run. Buskers include Isabella Hoops and Heath Tarlin's Giraffe Family, which is always a fun favorite. The Kitty Train, we have again free face painting and balloon artists. We have our favorite arts and crafts with Family Space and We Thrive. And then of course the main stage will feature local artists. We have an incredible lineup for you guys this year. We have Andy Forgy, which is always a favorite. He's going to start everything off at noon. We have Big Black Smoke, The Far Side, Freddie Vett, Mad Hatter, and everything ends with Maple Drive, all leading up to the grand fireworks display at 10 p.m.
And because we're still working on the waterfront part, I said I would take this over. So we are back for our 45th year, July 6th to 9th. We gathered nearly a group of 45 people to talk about what this year's event will look like. We're happy to welcome back our traditional favorites, those countries on which the festival was founded, including China, Poland, Tibet, Italy, and India. The past few years, we've added Mexico, Thai, Caribbean, Syria, and we're hoping to welcome more this year. In an effort to bring more interactive learning to the event, we're also welcoming members of the Quinte Immigration Services, Quinte Cultural Innovation Committee, and their Jalgua Peace Festival, Indian and Caribbean communities to participate, but we'd also like to extend an open invitation to the public if they have time to volunteer and help us learn more about a culture they represent. You can visit Belleville Waterfront Festival /volunteer. There's a form there, fill it out, and submit information. The vendor row is back with festival favorites, and we're looking forward to an expanded opening ceremony on Thursday evening. We also understand the Korean delegation will be in town, so that will add a special element. We also have a great mix of multicultural sounds and Canadian favorites at the main stage. We're planning 4 days of food, fun, and festival with new things happening all the time. And the third weekend, go.
Oh, you want me to do
Sure,
this
why
one?
don't you? It's on a new page.
So the third weekend in July presents World's Finest Midway from July 13th to 16th. All your fun favorite rides. Advance sales will be available soon, and we hope you'll find plenty of reason to enjoy the Bay of Quinte region in Belleville this July.
Discover Belleville, stay another day. Any questions about what we have going on?
Any questions for the deputation? If not, I need a motion to receive. Councillor Enright Miller, Councillor Alsop, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
I just want to mention that we have
Thank you. Correspondence, a letter from the Belleville Downtown Improvement Area, BDIA letter requesting street closures, that April 14th, 2023, letter from Belleville Downtown Improvement Area requesting multiple street closures from June to September 2023 be received and referred to item 8A1. Councilor Millet, Councilor Allsop, all in favor? Carried. Need a motion to go into committee of the whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations and solutions with Councilor Kelly in the chair. Councilor Brown, Councilor Enright Miller, all in favor? Carried.
All right, we'll start with 8A, reports. The agenda shall include under report items that warrant individual attention. We'll start 8A1, Belleville Downtown Improvement Area, that the request from Downtown Improvement Area for multiple street closures for the following dates to be approved in consultation with staff. The section Front Street between the south side of Victoria Avenue and the north side of Campbell be closed to traffic every weekend beginning June 23rd and ending September the 10th. That's 12 weekends from noon on, on Friday till 7 o'clock on Monday, provided that access is maintained for emergency vehicles. The section of Front Street between the side of Victoria Avenue and the north side of Bridge Street and Campbell Street at Pinnacle Street be closed to traffic on June 23, 2023 for downtown at dusk, and August 19th, 2023 for the Caribbean Festival, provided that access is maintained for emergency vehicles, and that council approve the use of city sidewalks and parking spaces within the requested area during these dates and times. Can I get a mover? Councillor Enright Miller, Councillor Seconder, Councillor Allsop. Any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Just want to speak in highly. The DBIA has worked very hard to coordinate the street closure. They've worked diligently with Mr. Reid to get the details worked out. They've stayed within budget, and as you know, now it's all set up for the outdoor cafes. All the new supplies are up. It looks beautiful. I think the city can be very proud of what we've done, and I thank Heather and the staff for coordinating that, and Alicia. But the street closure is an important aspect for the DBIA, and it's great that the city hopefully will approve it. It's in the budget, so looking forward to it from the DBIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else? All right, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. 8A2, 2022 year-end capital and operating reserve fund transfer. Resolution that council approve the recommendations of the Finance Committee as outlined in the Director of Finance Treasurer's report, number DF 2023-09, and transfers $13,038,453.50 to various reserve funds from capital projects listed in Schedule A, and that council approved the transfers of $6,796,022.43 from various reserve funds to capital projects listed in Schedule A, and that council approve the 2022 unrestricted surplus of the city be transferred 50% to the tax rate stabilization reserve fund and 50% to the asset management reserve fund. Can we get a mover? Councillor Enright Miller, seconded by Mayor Ellis. Any discussion? Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I would just like to thank Treasurer Ferguson and staff for the detailed report presented to the Finance Committee for the year ending 2022 Capital Operating Reserve Fund transfers, and I support the approvals of the transfer amounts to the various reserve fund transfers from capital projects and the various reserve funds to capital projects, and that the unrestricted surplus be transferred 50-50 to the tax rate stabilization fund and asset management fund, And our auditing firm had identified that completing these transfers ahead of the audit is preferred, and that they also just suggested, along with the allocation, an allocation policy could be implemented for the city's annual surpluses and deficit at year-end to provide a more effective approval process, and would be supporting that for finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? We'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. 8A3, City of Belleville Travel and Training Policies, Staff and Council. The resolution reads that Council approve the recommendations of the Finance Committee as outlined in the Director of Finance Treasurer's Report, number DF 2023-11, and approve the revised policy for, number 1, attendance by members of Council at conferences, conventions, seminars, workshops, training courses, and any other events. And number 2 is policy for business travel, seminars, and conferences staff. Can we get a mover? Councillor Millet, seconder by Councillor Alsop. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. The next is 8A4, Nurse Practitioner-Led Clinic Expansion Funding. The resolution that report number MPRR-02 from Manager of Physician Recruitment and Retention be received, and further that Council commit up to a maximum of $30,000 funding to the Nurse Practitioner-Led Clinic in Belleville to support the attraction of 2.6 new nurse practitioners to the city, to be funded from the Alexicon Reserve Fund, and further that the 2023 operating budget be amended to include this expenditure, and a bylaw authorizing this agreement be prepared and provided to Council for their consideration. Can we get a mover? Councillor Enright Miller, seconded. Councillor Brown, any discussion? Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Well, I'm very pleased with the addition of the nurse practitioners and the support staff, and we'll support this motion. The change from a satellite clinic in the Thurlow ward is disappointing. The need for more accessible health care within my ward came out loud and clear over the course of the campaign period, and I've had a number of calls leading up to today's meeting. Without any public transit, and even with a vehicle, the location within the city center is a lengthy journey for many of the Ward 2 residents. And I hope we will continue to pursue and advocate for more opportunities for healthcare practitioners north of the 401. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Millet.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I would echo the comments and concerns of my colleague, Councillor Brown. As a member of the former council, and when we lobbied quite strenuously to secure approval from the province for the NP clinic in Thurlow Ward, it was quite welcome, and I know previous council worked hard on that, and I want to make it clear that it's through issues that were beyond our control that this wasn't allowed to happen in Ward 2, and I will underscore the need to keep our pedal to the metal and our emphasis on keeping a lobbying effort with the province to make this a reality at some point, because there really is no good excuse as to not have any medical services of any great description north of Highway 401. It's a disparity that is more than disappointing, I will say, and I personally will join anyone around this horseshoe in keeping that pressure on the province through the auspices of our MPP Minister Todd Smith. So I would hope that the province was there for us in the past, they'll be there for us in the future, and we can make this a reality. But 2.6 new nurse practitioner clinics is easing a burden that is crushing for an awful lot of families and individuals in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright. Councillor Enright Miller?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just want to echo the sentiments. This is a good news, bad news story, but small investment to accommodate up to 2,000 people who may not currently have access to health care. And I'd happily support this expenditure from the Lexicon Reserve Fund, and please, it will continue to lobby the government for additional funding for the satellite office in Thurlow, because it's desperately needed. And we should also continue to lobby for more nurse practitioners to help with our ever-growing void in healthcare, because it's certainly a viable alternative to the problem in the circumstances we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? I'd like to have a question for you, Ms. Post. Just if you can explain, we have detailed information in our reports, and maybe that folks at home or those watching on media channels don't have access to or information. Can you explain just potentially a nurse practitioner's clinic going to Ward 2 in Thurlow? That idea is not done. A situation where a building became the challenge.
Thank you, through the chair to all of council. Yeah, so when the proposal was originally thought through, there was a partnership with a local developer, there was a site chosen, there were plans drawn up, and some costing related to that. The pandemic happened, and of course the costing significantly increased. There are delays in construction, which really just left that site, unfortunately, out of the running for this development. I think that the Belleville Nurse Practitioner-led clinic really pivoted quite well and worked carefully with their landlord to accommodate it quickly in the building that they're in, so that they were able to get the new nurse practitioners employed and up and running very quickly, certainly much faster than they would have been able to had they had to wait for a new building. So although it's very unfortunate that they're not in Thurlow Ward, the fight to have that happen will not stop, and it will certainly provide health care for over 2,000 residents in the short term, so we're very happy with that.
Thank you. Appreciate the update on that. And just a quick thought here, just on the nurse practitioners clinic. I did a little research. They've been in Belleville now for 13 years, and there's 5 nurse practitioners at the office in Belleville, and they handle 3,200 patients, and with 2.6 nurse practitioners on the horizon, that will take 2,080 patients. So the nurse practitioner-led clinic in Belleville will have 5,280 patients that they work with, and they didn't miss a beat over the pandemic. So shout out to the Belleville Nurse Practitioners Clinic. I'd like to call on the vote. All those in favor? Good. All right, we're going to keep going. This is 8.A5, 2023 capital budget amendment, replacement of a plow truck. That the 2023 capital budget be amended to include a replacement plow truck in the amount of $365,600 to be funded by the insurance proceeds. Can we get a mover? Councillor Carr, seconded by Mayor Ellis. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Approved. 8A6, Bay Quinte Regional Marketing Board Memorandum of Understanding for Resident Attraction, that in accordance with Section 30.3, Sole and Single Sourcing, approval and reporting of the city's purchasing bylaw number 2021-99, in the agreement with the Bay Quinte Regional Marketing Board be accepted to market the interest of the city of Belleville with respect to resident attraction in the amount of $85,360.05 plus HST of $11,096.81 for a total of $96,456.86 at a net cost of the city of $86,862.39, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Can we get a mover? Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Brown. Any discussion? Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And as a member of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board, very happy to see this coming back before us and getting this hopefully passed today. This is a very important thing for the board, but also for our community as well. The key thing to note here is that the mat tax that we supply to the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board is sort of split into two pots, one for tourism attraction and one for resident attraction. And in the years that we were not funding the resident attraction, it was the first period in a long time where Quinte West actually sold more homes than in Belleville. And so this has a real effect on the number of homes being sold in our community. And as we look at the large projects and developments that we're going to be having in that Loyalist secondary plan area, as well as in Black Bear Ridge, we will have this need for more resident attraction on an ongoing basis. So very happy to see this back before us today, and I'll certainly be supporting it.
Councillor Alsop, anyone else? Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. First of all, just to follow up on my colleague's comments, I don't think it's the resident attraction that's the issue. We have a supply issue. We have more people than houses. That's whether it's here or anywhere else. The demand is there, the supply isn't. And but in concert with that, and in discussion that we had at operating budget, and I remember posing these questions to Mr. Stevenson, it's not just resident attraction what we're looking for, but more of the precise labor attraction. And that's noted in the staff report that that's what is required. I'd asked the question during budget because we do have a number of members that are involved in this agreement, but one that's missing is the employment sector in terms of actually providing the money to attract the labor that they require, whether it be skilled trades to build homes or within our factories, the people that produce things for the economy to run. So my question is, through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Candler, could we or should we, and I want to get an opinion before I just go and throw out amendments on the MOU, but under Section 2, which is the financial accountability matters, and 2.1 in particular, which is the obligations of the marketing board, and subsection C, promoting resident attraction to the city. Do you think it's prudent that we look at redefining that to promoting labor resident attraction to ensure that there is a concerted effort by the marketing board to hone in on the fact that labor is necessary? We've heard this, I've been in this place for some time. We've heard it from employers in our industrial park and other areas that they're in dire need of people to work. And so I think in order to have a concerted effort, a focused effort to ensure that the monies, that the tax dollars that are being allocated are honed specifically into labor attraction, is it prudent that we perhaps maybe change that definition?
Through your chair to Councillor Carr. We can certainly make an amendment to the agreement for that focus, but what I can tell you is at the present time, there's a tremendous focus on the labor force issue at that table. And I think our members of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board would support that as well. I think that we have feedback into this process and we're at the table. So we can influence that. This is a 5-year agreement. So I think it's probably more prudent to keep that flexible to reflect what's happening at any given time and have the ability to be agile in that regard. Labor force is certainly an issue for us now. Where we'll be in 5 years is hard to say. I expect it'll still be an important issue, but that's something that's certainly discussed at the board table.
Okay. My only concern is, and I appreciate the fact that the board is focused on labor, and we certainly heard that from Mr. Stevenson. We've heard it from members on the board. I'll just be very frank. I don't think that our tax dollars should be utilized to go out and market to come buy a home here. To me, that doesn't strike the chord that we necessarily need to message out there. At the end of the day, like I said earlier, across the province, every municipality is experiencing the same thing. We have way more demand and less supply when it comes to housing. So selling houses is not the problem, it's the supply side. The province even points that out all the time. So do you think it's prudent that we're using tax dollars to say, come buy a home in Belleville versus the more narrowed focus of come work in Belleville and you obviously need a place to stay?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Carr. I think the point is well made, and one of the things that's really key to attracting labor force is speaking to the quality of life, and so I think talking about Belleville as a place to live and a place to make your home is part of that resident and labor force attraction. I don't know that I've seen a message come out of Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing that talks about coming here to specifically buy a home at this point in time.
Okay, and I appreciate those comments. So, you know, I'll leave it as is. I guess I can say is that as this agreement unfolds and there's some commitments here in terms of reporting, I look forward to seeing some results narrowed in on labor attraction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Anyone else? Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I'm going to fully support the resolution as it's written for the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. I've had the positive experience of working on the tourism side with them, so I'm not expecting that anything that we've seen in the past won't continue when it comes to Bay of Quinte living. I also just wanted to give kudos to the MOU moving to the 5-year mark versus the 4. I think one of the things that we as new councillors coming in, trying to deal with a budget package, it's one less thing that we have to be concerned about. And the fact that Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board actually believes and kept the fee the same for the entire 5 years, I think really kudos go to them that we can now project exactly what we're going to spend on this particular thing, and rather we can focus on what are the outcomes and are we pleased with the outcomes from that particular thing. So I will support this motion as written. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Just to piggyback on what my colleague said about the labor force, and we're in a different climate when it comes to labor forces and jobs, and I think this Quinte Regional Marketing Board can certainly help in the whole aspects of jobs to the city, and we can't attract more business to Belleville area if we don't have the workforce to sustain it and the growth, and we can't have a workforce if we don't have the businesses to employ people. It's pretty simple. They go hand in hand, and we just can't take our foot off the gas, and I think this 5-year plan, kudos to them. It gives us a comfort level that they're going to forge ahead for Belleville, and that would be all-encompassing, I believe, and the model works, so I would support the 5-year as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? All right, we're going to call for the vote here. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. 8A7, this is supply and delivery of lighting control components and software upgrades. That in accordance with Section 3030, sole and single sourcing, approval and reporting of the city's purchasing bylaw number 2021-99, the quotations from Salax and Corp be accepted for the supply and delivery of lighting control components and software upgrades in the amount of $56,069.10 plus $7,288.98 HST for a total of $63,358.08, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Can we get a mover? Councillor Thompson, seconder Councillor Carr. Any discussion on this? Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. Just a brief comment. This is good to see that there's some investment in this change. I frequently attend Belleville Senators games, and there's always a delay in terms of the atmosphere that they're trying to create and get the lighting back on for the actual game. So, you know, and when we do have obviously visiting teams, we have visitors throughout the region, but also traveling with perhaps visitor hockey teams. Being able to correct the lighting reflects well on the city in terms of the building and the infrastructure that we present. So this is good to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Anyone else? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. 8A8, contract number PRKS 2023-02, Marianne Sills, field number 2, turf replacement. The resolution is that the request for tender submission from Worldwide Turf and Corp be accepted for contract number PRKS 2023-02, Marianne Sills Field Number 2 turf replacement in the revised bid amount of $690,000 plus $89,700 HST for a total amount of $779,700. This being the lowest cost tender received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. And that additional funding in the amount of $10,000 be approved from the Casino Reserve Fund Infrastructure Maintenance. Can we get a mover? Councillor Millet, seconder. Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion. Councillor Millet.
Thank you, Chair. Through you two, I don't see Mr. Cave Brown Cave here, so that would fall on Mr. Reed, I would suppose, to turn on his mic. And just a quick question. I note in the report that Worldwide Turf, and I did a little background research into this as well. They were the original manufacturers or installer of the turf field that we have in place. What's the time frame on this project, if you will, Mr. Reed?
Through the chair to Councillor Millet, during the month of August, they figure about 2.5 weeks to rip up the old turf and install new one. Within our contract provisions, that did allow for us to have penalties after 4 weeks. So we're very confident that we'll have no problems with completing it within time frames.
And I would assume there'd be no disruption in any user group scheduling as a result?
We had worked with all the user groups, and in August was the preferred time frame, just because we do have the additional fields there, the grass fields. Yeah, August seems to be the slowest time of year.
Okay, and I will be supporting this, and I just wish they had quality turf fields like this around. When I was trundling around on those pitches, I might not need the new knee that I'm getting this year, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Millet. And many said you might have been faster.
No, never faster.
Any other questions? I got a question for Mr. Reed. I did look at the report a couple of times, just for human interest's sake. Mr. Reed, if you can just tell us, what's the life expectancy of a turf?
Approximately, depends on use, but between 10 to 12 years is about the ideal time frame.
Thank you, sir. Call for the vote. All those in favor? Passed. Thank you. Next is, we're going down to 8A9, sole single source of sidewalk replacement and repair. Is that in accordance with Section 3030, sole and single sourcing, approval and reporting of the city's purchasing bylaw number 2021-99, that contract ENG 2021-12 sidewalk repair and replacement awarded to 809592 Ontario Incorp. OA Parkside Landscaping and Contracting be extended under the same terms, conditions, and pricing in the amount of $288,777 plus $37,541.01 HST for a total amount of $326,318.01, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign an acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Can we get a mover? Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Have we in other years have had more than one sidewalk person quote on sidewalks? Is this the first year we've had a single source?
No, we had done the single source last year as well. This contract is a couple years old. The contractor has extended the same terms, conditions, and the unit pricing. Just with the price of inflation over the last number of years, we felt it was prudent. The vendor had said that they would do it for the same unit price. So we felt that it was an important step to continue and leverage that to maximize our funding envelope.
Okay, thank you. And also, you named the streets that are going to be included in that. What if there's locations around town that we see as councillors, or can we add to that job on, there's odd spot here and there, or what's the protocol in that, or does that have to wait till the next year?
Yeah, so on an annual basis, under the minimum maintenance standards, our staff undertake a sidewalk inspection, and we note deficiencies. After that, we take a review of where the deficiencies were, where we feel that the most liability and risk is for the corporation, and then we select the streets to provide. Keeping in mind, again, some roads are at a point where there needs to be reconstruction. So we're making sure that the ones that these roads aren't up for reconstruction right away, and we're making sure we kind of reduce our tripping.
I'm just thinking of one particular, on Herkimer Street, there's one spot right there, it's just one section. Can we advise you and see if the contractor will go to locations like that, or is this it?
If you do have noted areas, please pass it along to our staff, and we'll investigate it, and maybe we can have our in-house team do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I would just like to say thank you to Parkside for holding their price from 2020 to 2023. In the private sector, this does not happen very often. And in this climate where labor costs have gone through the roof, and material costs and fuel, all of which this vendor would be facing, I know we all appreciate them holding their price. So thank you. I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Alsop? Oh, sorry, I thought you were hoping to speak. Councillor Millet.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Manager Reid. Mr. Reid, I know, and further to Councillor Thompson's point, in the past, and there is I guess a mechanism for small repairs where there may be a tripping hazard or a piece of sidewalk that's uneven for pedestrians or others. In the past, I know that in reaching out to your office, there have been situations where staff will grind down tripping high-lows and things like that. And is there a mechanism, I guess, for the public, if they have, as Councillor Thompson pointed out, a small portion of sidewalk in front of their home, say, or business, that they might report this?
Through the chair to Councillor Millet, yes, there is a mechanism on the City of Belleville website, problem reporting. We do encourage anybody that has issues or deficiencies that they come across to report them through those means. You are correct. We do allocate some funds on an annual basis to do grinding. This program is more of a permanent fix where it repairs, digs it out, and permanently. But the reality is that where there's trip hazards and where we do grind it, there's underlying issues with that sidewalk, base concerns like there's clay or inadequate sub base. So the sidewalk will continue to move. So the grinding is a temporary measure. This is more of a permanent fix, so to speak.
All right, thank you. Mayor Ellis.
To Manager Reid, you list the streets here. Are they complete rebuild, or are they new sidewalks for each street? Like, does Woodland Acres currently have a sidewalk, or is that a total install of all sidewalks?
Yeah, no, these are more some sections. It's divided up into 2 unit prices. One is for areas that's greater than 30 square meters, and a unit price that's more than 30 square meters. So I can't comment exactly the exact locations, but I know there was one area on, it might have been Woodland Acres, that there's an asphalt section that's going to get concreted. So it is kind of more patchwork. It's not the complete street.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. We'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved, thank you. 8A10, supplementary Phase 2 environmental site assessment, Old Fairground Site, 240 Bridge Street. The resolution is that in accordance with Section 30.3, sole and single sourcing approval and reporting of the city's purchasing bylaw 2021-99, the quotation from Cambium Incorp. Be accepted to complete supplementary Phase 2 environmental site assessment in the amount of $63,520 plus $8,257.60 HST for a total of $71,777.60, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the City of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to fix the corporate seal. We get a mover. Mary Alice, seconder, Counselor Enright Miller. Discussion? All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. 8A11, request for proposal.
I move that as read.
Oh, sorry. What am I doing here? Oh, sorry. Discussion then? Any discussion? Okay, Counselor also? Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay, discussion? Counselor Brown?
I do have a question. On page 105 of our package, it indicates that there will be a trenchless crossing of the Moira, and I'm just curious what that might look like.
Engineer, we'll go to Mr. Ford for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What that will encompass, or what that will look like, is it will be a tunnel under the river. So when it comes time to install that pipe, they'll dig 2 shafts on either side of the river and tunnel under it to install the pipe within. So that's the methodology that will be used to cross the river, so that we don't get into fisheries compensation issues and other complications that can come with working in the river bottom.
So if I may, just to follow up to Manager Ford, have we done something like this before?
Through the chair, yes, we have. We've done it in several locations. We typically use this type of technology to cross the railroad tracks. And I can think of a recent one on Yeoman Street, where we did a very significant crossing under the tracks. We had to dig 2 access pits and tunnel under the tracks at that location. And like I said, we do this quite often to get under railway tracks, for example. And water courses is another good application for this technology, which is very cost effective in terms of being able to speed the project up and minimize impacts on the surface.
Thank you, Counselor Brown. We're going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. We'll go to 8B now, consent items. I'll go around the table and see if any of my colleagues would like to pull anything, and we'll start with Mr. Thompson.
8B3.
Counselor Carr.
No, thank you.
Counselor Enright Miller.
No, thank you.
Counselor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Counselor Brown.
No, thank you.
Counselor Millet.
I will, Counselor Thompson's already pulled 8B3, 8B4. We have conflicts, some of us, so thank you.
All right, Mary Alice.
No, thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to can we go right to 8B3 and discuss that, and then the gentlemen that are leaving for the conflict, then we can do a resolution to just pass the rest, yeah? Or do you want to, you tell me what you want to do.
Did you want to pull 8B4?
Counselor Thompson did.
But if it's not pulled, you don't have to leave, which is be part of the consent.
Okay.
So was it being pulled? No, okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's just 8B3, so.
So we're going to discuss 8B3. That the consent items be approved with the exception of item 8B3. Can we get a mover? Counselor Alsop, seconded by Counselor Carr. All those in favor? Approved. So now we're going to zero in on 8B3. Request for the use of Morris Court, street name in honor of Morris Rollins, Potters Creek Subdivision, Phase 9B. Owners Potter Creek Development, file number 12T06501. The resolution, the council authorized the use of Morris Court as a new street name for Potters Creek Phase 9B subdivision development at the north end of Sienna Avenue. Can we get a mover? Councillor Thompson, seconded Councillor Millet. Any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is a great opportunity to honor an entrepreneur that's been in this city for a number of years. I noticed the family's here, and I'd like to get the feeling, if I may, from the family, if they could come up and say a couple of words on the opportunity to have their father, his name on the street. No.
Is there any family members here that would?
There's 2 of them.
Come on up, sir.
his humble opinion, we would probably say, let him go ahead and do it. He doesn't look for recognition. That's, thank you.
Thank you. No, and that's, Morris never did look for recognition in all the years and all the good deeds that he's done in this city, and he's helped more organizations than we'll ever imagine. So it's a privilege to be able to authorize this on behalf of our city and the council to approve his name to be used in one spot in the city of Belleville. Thank you. Thank you,
Councillor Thompson. Councillor Millet.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I'm going to echo Councillor Thompson's remarks. Morris was he wasn't a large man in stature, but he was an incredible man who left an indelible mark in this community. I remember Morris years back when Belleville Collegiate Institute was, the building itself was, there was some question over whether we could preserve it. I personally wrote extensively about that at the time, and I spoke with Mr. Rollins, and some people may not recall that Morris at one time ponied up a significant amount of his money if that building were to be saved as a cultural center. In the end, it couldn't be, but that was the nature of Morris's commitment to this community. And he quietly gave over the years, in particular the then Canadian Mental Health Association, seemed to be an agency that Morris supported greatly. And as is no secret, if anybody's read his memoirs, Morris suffered a lifelong affliction with depression. And so he believed wholeheartedly in the work that the CMHA and the Enrichment Center eventually did, to the point where in his memoirs, a portion of the proceeds from that book to this day go to support the efforts of the Enrichment Center. But again, quiet, generous giving, truly a noble man, again, not large in stature, but a giant in the community. And the very least we can do is to name a street in his honor. I would love to see a statue in his honor, but that's for another day. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Millet, for your words. Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and I just wanted to echo some of the comments made by my colleagues today. Morris was an incredible man. I had the great privilege of actually growing up next to two of his grandchildren on Stanley Park, and got to know them and would always hear stories about Morris and what he was doing, and met him a few times over the course of my life, but most recently, just before he passed, we were at an event, and I had read his autobiography, and as noted, a percentage of the portions went towards the Enrichment Center for Mental Health, formerly Canadian Mental Health Association. And I appreciate it greatly as someone who has struggled with mental health throughout my life. And so I went over to thank him for having written it, and also for the proceeds going to the organization. And he said to me, the reason I wrote it was not to show people all the things that I had done in my life, but to show them what could be done in a life affected by mental illness. And that's something that has stuck with me, and certainly I think this is a great tribute to a great man, and very happy to see it.
Thank you. Any other words? Just a quick comment, I was at a fundraising breakfast at a church in Belleville, Presbyterian Church, and Mr. Rollins was my guest at my table. I was sitting beside him. It was an honor to sit with him, and we had lots of laughs that particular morning. And I know he did a lot quietly, as Councillor Millet mentioned, for our city, and he was a giant in Belleville and the area, and very successful. So I'll call for the vote for all colleagues here to support the Morris Court naming. All those in favor? Approved. We're going to go to the next council information matters. I'll ask, do you want to pull anything specific? We'll start with Mayor Ellis.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millet.
No, thank you.
Councillor Brown.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Enright Miller.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
I have three items, AC1, AC2A, and AC2D, please.
Thank you. And Councillor Thompson.
8C2 2E.
All right, so according to my notes, Mr. McDonald, we have, everything is being pulled except A and C. Is that what you have? 8A, the building section month report and request. Is that right? Okay, that the agenda items be received with the exception of items 8C1, 8C2A, 8C2D, and 8C2G. E, sorry, that's an E. Poor penmanship. Can we get a mover? Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Approved. Okay, so we're gonna go to 8C1. All right, Councillor Mover. Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. This is the building section month report for the for April, and I know, and I will bring this up for as long as I'm sitting here. And as Councillor Alsop said, you know, we're trying to attract residents. They need a place to live. Well, guess what? 5 building permits were issued in the month of April. 5. So the supply is not keeping up with the demand. And that follows 7 permits a year ago, April. Overall, though, year to date, 14 residential permits, new residential permits have been issued in the first quarter. There's absolutely no way that we're going to be able to supply. So we wonder why prices are high and houses are high. When you control supply, then the demand is up and the price goes up. And here we are yet again. I have asked through Planning Committee as chair that we start tracking occupancy permits as well. Building permits are great. You can take a permit, but you don't actually have to build once you have the permit. You can hold it to whenever you feel like you want to build. And so I want to start tracking, or I think we should start tracking the occupancy permit to make sure that the permit goes out, the building occurs, and people are actually moving in. The province is very big on trying to get the municipalities to do their part, and we are, but I'll say it again, the private sector controls it at the end of the day. And unless there are guardrails in play in order to put pressure on the builders to actually provide the supply for the demand that's required in the province of Ontario, we're going to continue to fall behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr, anyone else? All right, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. Next is 8C2A, request the provincial government to pause proposed changes to the provincial planning statement PPS, particularly regarding natural heritage section 4.1 and agricultural land section 2.6 and 4.3, and to reinvest trust in the local planning authority of all 444 municipalities, recognizing that each has unique landscapes, different housing needs, and differing visions for local planning matters. This is a resolution from the County of Prince Edward, Provincial Property Standards, May 9, 2023. Get a mover? Councillor Carr, seconded by Mayor Ellis. Discussion. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Kelly. And it's the proposed provincial planning statement or policy statement on planning. And I want to note too that there was a joint statement from Ontario's farm leaders and who spoke out on Bill 97 and the proposed provincial planning statement. And I just want to put just a statement out there, and I think we should support this particular motion that our neighbors have provided. And you know, it just talks about the fact that they don't, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture and their group don't support policies that will increase residential lot creation in prime agricultural areas or in rural areas that are actively farmed. Ontario boasts some of Canada's richest and most fertile farmland, and these policy changes put the sustainability of that land and the food system it provides at great risk. And they talk about the fact that to farm that we need farmland. And the other thing that's really key here is that these decisions will have long-term intergenerational implications for Ontario farmers, food security, water resources, and the agri-food economy. And I've read somewhere that the province loses 1 farm a day in terms of growth and development that's occurring. And I just happened to be through the GTA yesterday and was up in the actual Greenbelt area and looking at the rich farmland that is there and the soil that is being worked as we start the grow season. And then to see these developments starting to pop up, which was once rich land that provided food for all our tables. And you know, when we look at COVID and the supply chain issues and everything else, if a people don't look after their food supply and protecting the actual growing of the food that we need to survive and to sustain ourselves, then we're really blind at the end of the day. And you know, the OFA puts it out there that it's intergenerational. So again, I think there's some perhaps blinders as far as some governments want to look out, and they're looking out maybe for, I don't know, the next election or the next election after that, but not looking intergenerationally is the fact that once we lose a farm to development, that food supply never comes back. And so then trying to find an alternative, where are we looking? We're looking to the United States or other countries, import issues, all the rest of it. Food security is key for a country to sustain themselves long term. And I support the motion here. The provincial government needs to be cautious with respect to growth. It needs to be responsible, but it needs to be done in a way that doesn't impact the food security for this generation and those to come.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I want to support this one as well, but what is interesting is when it pertains to agricultural properties themselves, some of what we're hearing in the discussions in the Ontario legislature is about the fact that we have a farming community that is aging out and where they don't necessarily have family members who want to continue on with the program. And so therefore, let's make better use of this plan. Councillor Thompson and I actually had an opportunity to look at immigration and investment and how we could accelerate that. And in talking, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the organization completely, but I did have a discussion with them about the fact that part of that investment could be people who want to immigrate to Canada coming as farmers, and that they would be coming with an investment that would enable them to purchase these properties and continue on where rather than having the farmers themselves age out. So I think that there is an opportunity that may be being overlooked despite the fact that it's the province and the province. Go figure. So I think one of the things we want to look at, and I will support this, is for exactly that, is that it is a fallacy to think that we cannot continue the farming community because our children and our grandchildren, et cetera, don't want to continue it. If we want to have more immigration into the country, and we do, then why not look at immigration from a farming perspective as opposed to strictly from a skilled trade or a minimum wage kind of thing. Doctors, is that now we have a way of being able to look at farmers coming into our community and continuing on with our rural elements. So I just wanted to say I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Millette.
Thank you, and all well said by my colleagues, and I too will support this resolution in support of Prince Edward County. I think at the, let's be honest here, Belleville itself doesn't have clean hands on this file. If you look north and west of our municipality right now, we're building homes on former agricultural land. So, you know, to some extent, we're as guilty as the rest. Unfettered use of the PPS as an excuse to build on A1 ag land is not on in my books. And what I believe this motion goes to, and what really makes it effective for me, is that the resolution from Prince Edward County says, whereas the proposed PPS sections 2.6 and 4.3 would dramatically remove municipal power and renders aspects of the county's official plan and other official plans throughout Ontario inoperative. We saw not 1 month ago when the province sent back our official plan and revised it without any consultation with anyone in this building. And as an aside, I was appalled to see a former member of this chamber applaud that action, by the way, the wresting of control of our planning by the province, saying Papa knows better. You know, that at its core, I think, is what concerns me, is that we're seeing the erosion of our own ability to plan properly and responsibly by the province. So if we don't stand up to them and join our friends to the south in Prince Edward County in voicing opposition as opposed to cheering them on as they basically trash and lay ruin to our planning authorities, somebody's got to stop them. So I will support this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, through your chair. I too agree with all of my fellow councillors. I mean, we have to take the power back, and kudos to the county for distributing this to the 444 municipalities around. And I think, again, we need to take some power back and stop the province, and this is one step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright Miller. Anyone else on this? All right, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. We'll go to D now. Request the province of Ontario to facilitate, coordinate, and regulate infrastructure pole deployment measures across the province to prevent unnecessary duplication of pole infrastructure, and that the province encourage Bell Canada and Hydro One to work together to provide access to poles for better service infrastructure needs of Ontarians. This is a resolution from Tweed Hydro, Bell Pole Infrastructure. That was moved by Councillor Carr, seconder. Councillor Alsop. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. I would encourage us to support this resolution and appreciate the municipality of Tweed for raising it. I would add that in the resolution that we provided to our MPP, who happens to be the Minister of Energy, I think it's would fall on the right desk in terms of talking about Hydro One poles. And this goes to the fact that the biggest thing that I see, quite frankly, is the rollout of internet in rural areas. And, you know, even the federal government, under great fanfare, introduced the Connect Innovate in 2018 out in Thurlow at an event at the brewery there. And they continue to struggle to actually roll it out. And a lot of it has to do with getting access to the infrastructure that is there. And what's astounding is that the Hydro One poles were once Ontario Hydro poles. And who owned Ontario Hydro but the province of Ontario and the taxpayers? So in essence, unless there's been a lot of pole replacement right across the country, and I don't think that's been the case, a lot of those poles were actually put in by tax dollars. And so here we are when we're trying to see the rollout of rural internet, getting access to the infrastructure that's right there is being a problem. And I have heard anecdotally that Hydro One has been putting up obstacles to allow for pole access. And to me, that's a problem, particularly, like I said, when the investment in a lot of those poles were the result of taxpayer investment through Ontario Hydro at the time. So if we're going to see rural internet expand throughout the region like it's supposed to, and like the CRTC and the federal government expects it to, then we need cooperation when it comes to infrastructure. And to put up obstacles from one company to not allow another company to put up the infrastructure for internet is appalling. And so I support this resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Anyone else? I just have a few words. Councillor Carr referred to infrastructure, and we know over the last 2.5 years, it's with students working at home during the pandemic. You talk to educators, kids that were in rural Ontario in our area struggled. Internet is terrible. You can do a Google search from promises from previous governments and go back 15 or 20 years, and they were talking a very healthy game with how they were going to connect Eastern Ontario together. And I think it's fair to say my words that in the last 2.5 years that we saw it in the pandemic, we're no further ahead in 2021 or 2022 than we were in 2015. So Kudos to you, Councillor Carr. Call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. And the final one is call upon the province of Ontario to take action to reduce municipal insurance costs. Resolution Tweed reducing municipal insurance costs. Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Brown, Councillor Thompson, you pulled it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very quickly, we all know that insurance costs are skyrocketing, and it's not just municipalities. All organizations, insurance is skyrocketing because of claims. We need the province of Ontario to be looking at the insurance cost and avenues that are being able to be claimed to municipalities that has really no bearing on the municipalities, and yet we get named in every one of them. And unless we take controls of that, our insurance costs keep going skyrocketing. So I ask the province to be looking at the insurance and the wording when we get named in so many insurance claims. So I ask for councils to give me the support.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else? All right, call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you. You get a motion to go to rise and report. Motion, Councillor Enright Miller, seconded by Councillor Millette. All those in favor? Approved. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to bylaws. Following the first and second reading of bylaws, members may debate any bylaw under consideration. First reading of bylaws 2023-104 and 2023-105. Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Millette. All in favor? Carried. Second reading of bylaws and discussion. Bylaw 2023-104, 2023-105. Moved by Councillor Ostop, Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Third and final reading of bylaws 2023-104 and 105. Moved by Councillor Brown, Councillor Allstop. All in favor? Carried. New business. Motions. Notice of motions. Announcements. Councillor Thompson.
Proclamation, as June is Parks and Recreation Month and Seniors Month. Parks and Recreation Month is a movement that promotes the benefits of recreation in parks as a means to physical, social, and environmental health. Access to parks and recreation is a fundamental human need that strengthens communities through local programs, events, parks, and facilities. By celebrating Ontario spectacular parks and recreation services, we raise awareness for the role that they play to the well-being of individuals, our community, and our environment. Equally important is Seniors Month. Not that I'm not a senior, but it is important, which has been formally recognized the Ontario government to celebrate the work and seniors have done and are doing in our community. It is also place greater significance on the health and well-being of seniors, serve as a catalyst to keep our older adults socially connected and engaged. It is important to encourage inclusion and promote age-friendly communities as seniors are an integral part of the foundation of our city. And I declare that for June.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Carr?
Yes, thank you. I've got a proclamation to read as well. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health and high quality of life and well-being of the people of Ontario. These infrastructure, facilities, and services cannot be provided without the dedicated effort of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and in the private sector. They are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders and children in Belleville to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their community. This marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, and be it resolved that the City of Belleville does designate, or hereby designates the week of May 21st to May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Alsop?
I would like to proclaim May 28th to be Menstrual Health Day. Initiated by German nonprofit WASH United in 2014, Menstrual Health Day is a global day of action with more than 830 partner organizations working toward a catalyst awareness and action towards a world without period poverty and stigma. The day of May 28th represents how menstrual cycles have an average duration of 28 days with approximately 5 days of bleeding each month. The Period Purse is a non-profit registered charity that launched in Toronto in 2017. They strive to achieve menstrual equity by providing people who menstruate access to free menstrual products and to reduce the negative stigma associated with periods through education and advocacy. In support of Menstrual Health Day, the Belleville sign, Bridge Street Bridge, and Fire Station No. 1 Memorial Garden will be lit up in red.
Councillor Brown?
Thank you. I have both a proclamation and an update for council. I proclaim June to be Pride Month, a time to celebrate with the LGBT community and honor the contributions they've made and continue to make within our communities, as well as to raise awareness to the struggles that they face. In the 1970s, the LGBT community would hold protests and demonstrations asking for equal rights, and since then have achieved legislation of same-sex marriage and protecting gender expression and identity in the Human Rights Act. Canada has approximately 1 million people who are part of the LGBT community, LGBTQ+ community, accounting for 4% of the population, with 1/3 of those being between the ages of 14 and 25. Unfortunately, this community and its members are also victim to over half of all of the violent hate crimes. To help foster a sense of community and belonging, on June 5th, we will be raising the rainbow flag at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. And then on June 10th, there will be a parade and a festival taking place across our city. Let us all come together as a community to celebrate Bay of Quinte Pride and reaffirm our commitment to create a city that is welcoming and inclusive for all. And the second item, I just wanted to provide a quick update from Transit Advisory to council, because I know everyone's been waiting, anxiously awaiting. We are expecting a draft of the Transit Master Plan will be coming to Transit Advisory in June. As chair of the committee, I've had a very, 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 underlined very, draft view of the report, and I think overall we'll be very pleased with the outcome. 3 of the transit projects that were completed as a result of our capital budgeting and our operating plan, Smart Card fare boxes, Loyalist student passes, and the secondary student passes being free, that we're identifying several synergies between the 3 projects that make a common implementation date in September 2023 possible. Our staff are now working diligently with Hastings and Prince Edward District School Board, Algonquin and Lakeshore Catholic District School Board, and Loyalist College on doing some implementation planning. So we hope to have a lot more coming to council in the summer months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Merlette?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I have a proclamation and a little bit of an update as well. Whereas Huntington disease, is a genetic brain disorder with physical, mental, and emotional symptoms. It is often described as having ALS, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's all at the same period. Unfortunately, there is no known cure. Each child of a parent with this disease has a 50% chance of having the gene mutation that leads to the progression of Huntington disease. Juvenile Huntington disease occurs when it appears in someone under the age of 20. 1 in every 7,000 Canadians has the disease, and approximately 1 in every 5,500 is at risk for developing the disease. Many more are touched by Huntington disease as a caregiver, family member, or friend. In support of Light It Up for HD campaign, the Belleville sign, Bridge Street Bridge, Fire Station No. 1 Memorial Garden will all be lit blue and purple from May 23rd to May 25th. As well, I was proud to represent Mayor and Council Sunday for the 239th anniversary of the landing of the Mohawks at Bayshore Park in Deserano, between Deserano and Tynanega Mohawk territory. Every year, a very meaningful service of remembrance of the roots of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte in this region, and I was there to bring greetings on behalf of the city to Chief Ardon Miracle. Very well-attended event, very colorful event, as some of you may have seen, and I joined MP Shelby Cramp and MPP Rick Brisé in bringing greetings from our various levels of government, and we were most welcomed by our Mohawk friends. And as a neighboring municipality, I think we can always do more to encourage and forge greater bonds with our Mohawk neighbors and our friends in the community at the MBQ. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, proclamation. Victorian Order of Nurses for Canada is a charitable community-based health care organization that has addressed community health and social needs now for over 125 years, whereas VON Hastings, Northumberland, Prince Edward County nurses, home support workers, community service coordinators, and many other staff and volunteers have been caring for the lives and well-being of residents of the City of Belleville and the City of Quinte West, and VON's nursing health promotion and support services make a contribution to the healthcare system in Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Belleville hereby proclaim this week, right now until the 27th, 2023, is VON Week. Flag was raised at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center this morning in support of the Victorian Order of Nurses. This year's theme is Together We Are Making a Difference. Hashtag VON Week 2023. And another announcement, Heather Candler, Director of Economic Development, passed this along to me from the Economic Development Committee with the city. We know that back in March we opened up with the Workplace Inclusion Charter, launched right here at the City Council table. So it's been in the process now for the last couple of months. And if you visit the Workplace Inclusion Charter website, you will see each workplace listed in the order they have signed on. Today we're going to highlight two. The first business to formally announce their support for diversity and inclusion in the workplace was Guernsey Team Real Estate. Thanks to Guernsey Team's current focus on building a team with character, ethics, and values that embrace a diverse workplace, including women, members of the LGBTQ2S+, community, seniors, and those who are experiencing non-visible disabilities. Experience non-visible disabilities. So their goal is to demonstrate that race, age, gender, sexual orientation, and disability should not be a deciding factor to employment, that embracing this diversity can produce tremendous results. So thanks to Patricia Guernsey and her team. Also too, the second place we'd like to highlight today is not a business, but a critical community service for newcomers to the Quinte region. It's the Quinte Immigration Service's main objectives are to encourage public respect for the diversity of immigrants, the promotion and recognition of the value of racial and cultural differences, and the integration and participation of newcomers into our social, economic, and cultural aspects in the City of Belleville. Their work is really important as we welcome record levels to the friendly city. So thanks to CULA for their work, Executive Director Orlando Farrow, and special shout out to Kat Fisher, who does so much for our city and our new residents that come and get the support. Kat is so kind and caring and very compassionate. So those are the latest two that we welcome to the Workplace Inclusion Charter. And finally, today I was invited to St. Joseph's Catholic School on McDonald Avenue, and I want to thank teacher Kim Naylor and all the students from grades 7 and 8 engaged in local politics and youth questions, and it was really nice to spend an hour talking about how they see their city from students in grade 7 and 8, Belleville through their lens, and it was much appreciated. I got some notes, and I'll be taking that to Mr. Joe Reed and some of the other directors here with the city just to get their input on some of the thoughts that the youth had in that grade 7 and 8 class. So thanks to St. Joe's.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Need a confirmatory bylaw now, resolution that bylaw number 2023-106, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on May 23rd, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of May 2023. Moved by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Enright Miller. All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Brown, Councilor Enright Miller, all in favor? Carried.